So this will be a lesson on the equation of a line. Now in grade 9, you often use the y-intercept form. It looks like y equals mx plus b. It's called slope, intercept. The letter m represents a slope. The letter b, with the sign in front, represents the y-intercept, as opposed to the x-intercept. In grade 10, you will often see the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. This is known as the standard form. Now, when written in standard form, you'll notice that everything is on one side of the equal sign. We have equal to 0. You'll notice there still is an x and a y because it still represents a line. So you will still see variables x and y. But what's different is these letters, a, b, and c. These are coefficients. They are just numbers. These signs can be positive or negative, but when written in the standard form, the number in front of x should be a positive, and there should be no fractions. So we'll do a question showing this method. So given 2 points, -2, 6, and 1, 4, determine the equation of the line and equation of the line in standard form. So the first thing you need to do is the first thing you do even when you used the y equals mx plus b. We need to find the slope. And when you have 2 points, that's easy enough to do. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the subscripts represent 1 point, and the subscripts 2 represent another point. It really doesn't matter which one's which as long as you put both of them in the right spot. So if I go ahead and do my y's first, I'll do my numerator, or I can put in the 1, 4 first, and so this will be my first point in the equation. So it's x and then y, x and then y. Put in your minuses. If you want, you can use brackets. I especially use brackets when I have negatives. You have -2 and 6. Put in the x on the bottom and the y on the top. Now, if you need your calculator, go ahead and get it. 4 minus 6 is -2. Here I have a negative and a negative. 1 minus -2. Well, I know that that is actually positive. There's 2 ways to look at it. Negative times a negative is a positive, or subtracting a negative is essentially adding. So the denominator is a 3, and there's your slope, -2 over 3. So now you're going to use 1 point, it doesn't matter which one, and the slope, put them together to get the equation of the line. I'm going to use this point just because there's no negative sign. It makes it easier. So I'm going to rewrite the slope equation. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. This is going to look a little bit different. I'm using the slope and 1 point. It's not the y-intercept. So what I want is I want an equation with an x and a y. So I'm going to leave my second point is the one I'm going to substitute for, but that first point I'm going to leave it as variables. So that will be my x and my y in my equation. So I'm using 1, 4. 1 is the x part, 4 is the y coordinate, and my slope is -2 over 3. Now this is how some teachers start. I don't necessarily always start that way, but it's one way to do it. I want to get everything up on the numerator. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by x minus 1. So move this up so you can see the page. I'm going to multiply both sides by x minus 1. This is a whole term. If I multiply both sides by x minus 1, it will keep it balanced. So there's both terms. But x minus 1 divided by x minus 1, they are the same thing. So they divide out to be 1. Just like 3 divided by 3 is 1, 10 divided by 10 is 1. They divide each other out. So on this side, I'm left with y minus 4. And on the right-hand side, I'm left with negative 2 over 3 x minus 1. But now I want to get rid of my denominator 3 here. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. So I'm doing the same thing to both sides. The reason I chose 3 is because 3 is on the denominator. The reason I chose multiplication, because that's opposite of division. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now I have everything off the denominator. And it's starting to look more like an equation of a line. So I need to distribute the numbers in front of my brackets. 3 times y is 3y. 3 times negative 4, that's still going to be negative, and it's going to be 12. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative times a negative is a positive, and then I just deal with my numbers. 2 times 1 is 2. So now I can see I'm left with coefficients, but I have some terms here that I need to collect, and also I want to get all my terms to one side. I'm going to happen to choose the left-hand side because that way when I rearrange this negative 2x, you'll see what happens. So the first thing I'm going to do is always do the same thing on both sides. I want to get rid of the terms on this side. First, I'm going to get rid of the positive 2. Opposite of adding is subtracting, and I have to do the same number. I'm doing that because plus 2 and minus 2 end up being 0, but I must do the same thing on this side to keep it balanced. So here I am doing my math. Plus 2 minus 2, 0. Negative 2 plus 2 ends up being negative 10. But now I'm still left with this negative 2x. Opposite of negative is positive, and I'm going to do the same amount, and I must do the same thing on this side as well. So when I put this together on the left-hand side, because the right-hand side ends up being 0, I'm going to put the 2x first. Let's see if I can fit this on one page. So I'm going to put the 2x first, plus 3y. If you don't see a sign in front of something, it's a positive. Negative 10, and on the right-hand side was 0, and there it is, in the form of ax plus by plus c, but in this case c ends up being a negative. You can see that the values a, b, and c are all just whole numbers. And that's it, folks.